Welcome to Illuminati Silver. We tell you the truth about silver. Today is Thursday the 30th of September 2021 and we're producing our gold and silver morning update and price forecast. Silver prices have risen slightly this morning after yesterday's crash. The question though is, will they continue their recovery? Or can we expect to see further falls in both gold and silver prices? Well, let's take a look. Welcome to Illuminati Silver. It's Thursday, the 30th of September 2021, 10:43 a.m. GMT +1. The weather today, grotesque. Yes, it's pouring with rain. The wind is blowing a gale. The sky is grey. Grotesque is the word for the weather this morning. And grotesque is what's happened to gold and silver prices yesterday, which we shall discuss shortly. And looking at the news this morning, there's not an awful lot really to be pleased about. The main headline on Bloomberg: European gas power prices jump again according to records. European natural gas and power prices jump to records, signalling the supply shortage will only get worse just as the winter season starts on Friday. Stockpiles of everything from gas to coal and water for electricity production are in short supply, and there are few signs the situation will improve anytime soon as demand continues to roar back from a pandemic-driven lull. Well, they wouldn't be short of water if they were in the United Kingdom this morning. Russian gas flows to Germany's Malnow terminal dropped, pairing yesterday's partial recovery. Supplies via the major transit route are about a third less than at the beginning of the week. And European utilities seeking to buy more coal from Russia will also be disappointed, as any exports are likely to be limited. Isn't it ironic that we in the Western world have to depend on the one country that we have maligned and condemned and hated for generations, Russia? We have to rely on them in order to survive. Quite frightening, really. Well, what else is in the news? Wall Street titans warn of the next big risk for investors. The risks facing investors and the global economy are myriad and growing. We asked three of the most visionary people in the financial industry what they're most worried about over the next 5 to 10 years. We're more worried about what's going to happen over the next 1 to 2 years, to be frank. Cathie Wood, whose ARK Investment Management attracted billions of dollars in the past year, have her tech-focused bets trounced the market in 2020. Mohamed El-Erian, Chief Economic Advisor to Alliance SE and a Bloomberg opinion columnist, and Scott Menard, Chairman of Guggenheim Investments. The underlying assumption out there is that we're in an inflationary period turbocharged by supply chain disruptions. I've seen a lot of markets and started in the business during the 70s. I was in college when inflation was raging, so I know what that is. And I truly believe we're not going back there, and that anyone planning for it is probably going to be making some mistakes. Instead, we see three major deflationary forces brewing. Now, we're not going to read the rest of the article. You can look on Bloomberg yourselves. But there is an increasing voice now developing that we should be more concerned about deflation than inflation. Breaking news, Reuters: China Evergrande offshore investors face large losses after second payment missed. China's Evergrande Group missed paying bond interest due on Wednesday. Two bondholders said its second unpaid offshore debt payment in a week, although the cash-strapped company is scrambling to meet its obligations in its home market. And we shall see how that has affected equities in a moment. BBC News. For the UK business, furlough ends with almost 1 million left in limbo. Firms still relying on the scheme, brought in as the pandemic hit, call for more support as it is wound up. UK lockdown rebounds stronger than first thought. Household spending drove economic growth at a faster pace than previously estimated during the spring. Isn't it ironic? On the one hand, you have people saying we need more help, more financial help. On the other hand, you see we're spending more than ever. Are we perhaps getting used to having free checks or bank transfers coming through our doors and into our accounts that we now almost regard it as an entitlement? Rapid house price growth continues in September. Look in the US. US deal paved way for Afghan collapse. Generals. We have to admit we listened to the testimony the generals gave yesterday. And it appears, now none of us know for sure, but it appears the generals gave advice to President Biden and he ignored it. And then claimed he don't remember the advice he was given. That does not augur well. What's happening to the dollar this morning? Well, as we pointed out in yesterday's video, which we'll refer to in a moment, the dollar index went up considerably over the last 24 hours, but now this morning it's just pared back a little, down 0.02. So we still have an index well above 94 at 94.3. Energy prices marginally crept up 25 cents and 13. So we have WTI crude at 75.08 and Brent crude at 78.77. Equity markets yesterday slightly mixed in the US. The Dow was up 90 and the S&P up 6, but the Nasdaq was down 34, so technology stocks taking quite a hit. Asia overnight, well, broadly down, Nikkei and the Hang Seng. But in UK and Europe this morning, we have markets up somewhere between 0.3 and 0.5%. Now, what's going to be quite important today is US economic data, the initial jobless claims report and the continuing jobless claims. So, previous week we had 351,000. Market expectations for the initial jobless claims are 330,000. Now we shall see if it's higher or lower than that, and the market is likely to respond to that if we come either far below or far above expectations. Similarly with the continuing jobless claims at 2.85 million, we shall see how that pans out. We've got real gross domestic product revision coming out for Q2. The market is expecting no change compared with the previous estimate. And we have the Chicago PMI, which could have a little bearing, not significant, but a small bearing. But what will have an impact, although we tend to know what these people are now going to say, we have a number of the Fed presidents speaking on the economy. Let's not ignore those because, quite frankly, it's these people who are going to have the influence on when the pairing of the US bond buying takes place. Now, very quickly, on Friday, that's the most important day. We have personal income, consumer spending, core inflation, manufacturing index, construction spending, consumer sentiment index, the final, and the 5-year expected inflation rate. That's the one to look at. So what's happened to gold and silver? Well, over the last 24 hours, gold is down $14 and is standing at $1,731. Now, when we published our video last night, silver crashes below 2150. Why and what next? Gold was then standing at 1724. So it was actually worse than it is now. And we indicated in that video that we expect the initial reaction today will be a minor recovery in gold and silver prices. Not significant, but a minor one. And we can see that since that video was produced last night, gold has gone up $7. Silver is currently standing at $21.66. Again, yesterday when we produced the video, it was $21.50, and we suggested we may expect a slight increase. And this is what we've got, $21.66, so it's up 16 cents, but still on a 24-hour basis, it's down 73 cents. Taking a major hit for the reasons we explained in yesterday's video, essentially a stronger dollar, concern over equity markets, what was then rising yields, with the prospect of the tapering coming in sooner rather than later, and the prospect of interest rates being raised sooner than initially predicted, and other economic forces to do with China, Evergrande and so on, all having this negative impact on gold and silver prices. And the economy itself too, not being that robust, suggests that the industrial demand for silver could indeed fall. Cryptocurrencies up 2%. We've now got a market cap of 1.9 trillion. And in fact, in the early hours of today, we saw Bitcoin jump $2,000 in a day. But it's currently up 2% at 43,000. That's it. If you like what we've said, give us a thumbs up. If you don't, give us a thumbs down. Subscribe, press the bell sign. Have a great day. Where is gold and silver going today and tomorrow? Much depends on this economic news that's going to come out. We think there'll be a slight recovery because it did fall quite drastically yesterday. But frankly, if the news supports the potential prediction that we will have tapering sooner, then that will act as a headwind. Equally, do not forget the fact that the House will be voting on the infrastructure bill. And if that comes about and passes, that could be an interesting tailwind for gold and silver prices, at least short term. Illuminati silver owners come from a background of banking, international wealth management and economics. Having now retired from these worlds, we are not qualified to give investment advice. Therefore, this and other productions must not be deemed to be giving such advice and merely represent the personal views of its owners.